Hello, I'm Laura. It's Monday, January 19th, 2026, and happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day to the people in the United States and, in fact, to everyone around the world, because it is a day that celebrates freedom. So today, in honor of Martin Luther King Jr., we are looking at the big picture of freedom. In fact, the theme, the big picture, came from an inspiration of not only what we are able to do in looking out into our universe, as mentioned yesterday, but also what Martin Luther King Jr. was able to do in looking at his world. He saw a great vision of all people coming together in equality and love. Now, one of his most famous speeches that is often quoted on this day was his speech that he gave during the million-person March on Washington, and it was his I Have a Dream speech. But today I'd like to share with you elements of another speech called The Three Dimensions of a Complete Life that he gave on April 4th, 1967. These dimensions were length, breadth, and height. And the length of life is what he referred to as developing the inner sense of self-love. He said, a lot of people don't love themselves. And you know what loving yourself also means? It means that you've got to accept yourself. So there is a sense of self-acceptance in that self-love, a sense of self-worth. And this sense, when you really have it in yourself, cannot be contained within you. It calls to be shared with others. So that brings us to the second dimension of breadth. And that concerns the welfare of others. It's engaging with your world in a way that uplifts others. And then there is the third dimension, which is the height, which is reaching to the highest and most expansive beingness and self-expression. And that is done through your connection with the divine, by whatever name you give it. For Martin Luther King Jr., it was God and Jesus. For you, it might have a name like Universal Spirit, or the Divine, or the Eternal, or it might have a very special and personal name for you. But whatever your connection is with it, that is the height of love. Now, what I'd like to do in honor of this day of freedom is look at the three dimensions of freedom that come from love. First, out of the length of self-love, the love that comes from within, we can feel worthy of freedom. Then, out of the breadth of love, we can be a stand for the freedom of others. Then, out of the height of love, we can acknowledge the infinite and eternal source of freedom, which is divine love itself. So let's open ourselves to that possibility, to being the length, breadth, and height of love by being the length, breadth, and height of freedom in ourselves and in our world. And we can begin with a moment of quiet contemplation focused on a special thought. So let's take a deep breath and close our eyes and hold this idea in our hearts. I am worthy of freedom, and I stand for the freedom of others, for the undying source of human freedom is divine love. I am worthy of freedom, and I stand for the freedom of others, for the undying source of human freedom is divine love. And so it is. You know, here in the United States and around the world, people are crying for freedom. The freedom to simply be who they are in the world, to find that way of expressing themselves creatively and safely and without fear. And the source of that cry for freedom is knowing that we deserve love. We are called to share it with others, and that love has an infinite source in us. Whether in the moment it's found its outer expression, we can know that the seed of love resides within, and it is deepening its roots and growing toward the light. And the more love we give it, the more it will grow. Thank you for growing in love and freedom with me today, and have a happy Martin Luther King Jr. celebration of freedom this day.